Advaita means devoid of duality, one without a second. And we could leave it there. That's true. And some teachings do leave it there. There is also the risk of bypassing the rich diversity of reality's expression. And there's another Sanskrit word, Brahman. The derivative meaning is one who is all-pervading. Experience, on one hand, conceals non-dual reality, but it also reveals it because experience is absolutely permeated, absolutely saturated by that one. Everything is a manifestation. Everything we know, everything knowable, every experience is a manifestation of that. And that is the richness, that is the everythingness, the fullness. It's so essential to reconcile both of these aspects. It's also the one within the second, that this perception of duality isn't somehow a mistake or a stain on this pure absolute. It's the absolute knowing itself. This is the process. It's manifest reality. It's the process of self-realization, the process of self-knowledge. Quite often in human experience, through dissonance, seemingly being out of alignment with truth, but also resonance, the recognition of truth, that felt sense. Yeah, something true about this. This feels familiar. This feels homely.
Yeah, there can be this seeming lack of embrace of the everythingness. Just looking at one side of things and kind of writing the other side off almost, which is a kind of duality. You can't work it out. It's too mind-bogglingly amazing that all of this expression is happening to even begin to comprehend it in any way. It's also so rich, absolutely full to the brim of life. Reality's looking in the mirror and going, what am I? Who am I? And what's appearing in the mirror is all of this. And it's just existing as this overwhelmingly blissful, ecstatic beingness. I am all of it and beyond all of it. This is the infinite potential living itself out, expressing itself. This is how infinity looks. This is how infinity shapes itself. It's saturated itself through every possible aspect of its own experience of itself. So you can zoom in on any particular part of that experience and you'll find infinity there. And it will just open up more and more and more infinity on top of itself. You're absolutely it. You get to look at yourself like this. You get to be in love with yourself. You're like not some visitor to it. You get to pretend you're a visitor and then realize that you are it, and you get to enjoy yourself as all of this display.
You're listening to the Nonduality Podcast. This is Nic Higham from nisargayoga.com, and here with me is Paul Dobson. This is how infinity looks. That has at least two meanings. If you want to know what infinity looks like, it looks like this. If you want to know what reality sounds like, smells like, tastes like, feels like, it feels like this, because this is how infinity is expressed. But also the other meaning is, this is the way infinity looks at itself. This is the process of infinity experiencing itself. The finite and the infinite are not two. That's really what non-duality points to. The eternal and the transient are not two. The limited and the limitless are not two. This is reality in love with itself. You are that. You are that being. You are that consciousness in love with yourself. And you are literally in love. You are love in love. Love, making love to love. Love blossoming, being as this undeniable felt sense of being, the warmth of your body, what we call the body, the warmth of this energy field is the feeling of that being. And it's the feeling of love, true love, absolute love.
Yeah, it's love making love to love. The person is a contraction stemming the flow of that intense love. Through the miracle of life, this human being seems to have its own ideas and stuff about things. And there's these thought patterns which we identify with, which have their own ideas about what should be done, how life should be lived, what's going on. I don't like this, I do like that. When all of that's relaxed, actually life's got itself totally under control. The more I let go into that, the more I relax into that, the more that ecstasy is felt, and the more the inseparability of life is truly, fully felt. So that's already the condition. It's almost to the degree that we allow ourselves to relax into it. And it's not something you can do. You can't just go, oh, I'm going to allow myself to relax into it now. It's like it's a kind of thing that seems to happen the more you realize what the state of affairs actually is more deeply, and that you are reality. To whatever extent you can in this moment, relax, trust these words that all is well. Just maybe today you don't feel like inquiring and looking at your experience in some detailed way, and that's fine. If you can, just let it all fucking go, because it's so pointless holding on to this stuff, try and improve ourselves, try and go back into our past, dig it up, try and change all these things. Maybe if I do this better and that better, that's all beautiful, and that is in its own way undoing these knots. But if you can just have faith in some way that this is all taken care of, it all is perfect, and all is absolutely well beyond all imagination. Let love rush in. Let it just rush into your being and completely expose every little part of you that you've put in darkness that you thought was somehow wrong. And you'll find there was nothing ever wrong.
Yes. So, since reality is all that is, it doesn't take a scientist or a spiritual guru to work that one out. Everything contained within this moment is reality. So this moment is the process of self-knowledge, self-knowing, self-realization. And realization is to live as the self. You can't not live as the self, because this moment is the self living. That's what you are. You are that eternal, unbounded self reality. And whatever this moment contains, whatever it consists of, is here to be known as what it truly is, which is what you truly are. Whatever is here is actually you. The answer to that question, who am I really? It isn't just that you are the transcendental self, pure, eternal, unbounded reality. You are also what seems to be the relative reality, because the relative reality, which is this apparent two-ness, is only the one. You are the one experiencing yourself, expressing yourself as the second, while never not being the one. You don't have to get back to some pure oneness, only to recognize that what doesn't seem like that is only that. You don't have to even change it, only to recognize what it actually is, beyond the labels, beyond the words, the concepts, the thoughts about it. It's this reality. How can it be anything else other than reality? That's all there is. And it helps, as you were saying, to relax in every sense of that word, in every sense of that word. Relax the concepts, the tight conceptual grip of what you believe this to be, and then see that experience transforms and moves into a truer expression of itself. We can talk about letting go, but you see, trying to let go is a sort of efforting. Trying to accept is kind of a subtle rejection. So it's something simpler and subtler than that. It's more along the lines of noticing the inherent letting go, the fundamental acceptance, noticing that because whatever is here, it's allowed to be here. How do I know that because it's here. It's here. What you are holds this, but doesn't hold on to this. What you are holds this experience, but also releases it without trying to let go. It's all released. It all comes and goes and fluctuates and changes, transforms anyway.
Yeah, as you could say that the letting go is the noticing that it's already been let go. You know, I like what you said. It's not just a relaxation of the body and the mind. It's like a relaxation of the concepts, the ideas, relaxation of the story, a full spectrum relaxation. You know, it's not just some bodily relaxation. But the reason that feels good when you do that or feels right is because that's truth. Once you let go of all the stories and the concepts and the thoughts that are rejecting this current moment, that are then believed in, ends up as like a tenseness in the body. If this moment is allowed to be exactly what it is, which is actually the truth of what is here now, if you realize that, then the body automatically relaxes. It is a noticing of what's here. It's a never-ending noticing. You notice more and more of your experiences actually already taken care of. More and more of it is taken care of, and something registers within your being or your body or something. Something registers where you notice it more and more, and there's no fighting. In Dzogchen, they have something called self-liberation, which is a constant seeing of the perfection of it. And there's a relaxing into that fact. To what degree you can see that is how much this is felt and realized and enjoyed. And there's no resistance and there's no disallowing of things. It's just, everything is just perfectly what it is every moment. You have feelings in the body. So do nothing. Do absolutely nothing. So something arises, it's seen, it's noticed, that feeling is absolutely perfect, and it just arises and dissolves by itself, just like passing weather, leaves in the breeze, whatever. Just arising, dissolves, just another little pattern of reality flowing through you. Adding techniques and things might be helpful at one time, but ultimately they may perpetuate what's here. Whereas this self-liberation aspect of Dzogchen, just do absolutely nothing, because in doing nothing about it, you are seeing that it's perfect in what it is. That of course it can be nothing other than God manifest and flowing in and expressing. So if you can, just watch, just notice. This moment is already surrendered, and that's the natural letting go. That is the true letting go, is realizing that there's actually not only nothing to hold on to, because that's true, but there's no need either to make any attempt to hold on.
Yeah. The best practice is the practice of noticing what already is. Notice what already is the case. This moment is surrendered. And by that we mean every manifestation within this timeless moment. Just look for yourself. It comes and it goes. It's transient. That non-permanence, the impermanence of what is the self-liberation of what is. It's built into existence. You don't have to try and let go. And actually all is held by what you are. We can use various words to describe that capacity of holding, that indivisible, unlimited awareness, experiencing, and so on. You already hold, but you don't hold on, you don't reject, but you do release. Whatever seems to stay around in your experience, whatever comes back around, is life's way of saying, know me truly. You haven't quite yet discerned my true nature. You haven't assimilated or integrated this particular form, flavour of energy. And I am equal to any other form of energy because I'm only energy, I'm only life. you've been believing that I'm not acceptable. You've been believing that I'm something other than life, something other than what you seek. Somehow I'm non-life, anti-life. And the invitation is to know it anew, to re-know it, to re-know what is occurring to you. You call it sadness, and sadness keeps coming back around, keeps knocking on your door, so to speak. And it's like that Rumi poem, this moment is a guest house. Like, so what guest is showing up right now? Let every guest in, because it's showing you something true, and you're closing the door. You're trying to close it, shut it out, and you can't shut it out because it will keep knocking on your door. It'll keep knocking on your door until you open the door and you realize that this guest is actually identical to you in nature, and that's love, isn't it? It's this illusion of difference, this recognition of non-separateness. So yeah, the stuff that keeps coming back around, this is just a story in a way, but just go with it. The purpose of it is to recognize the nature of it. No, it's just this too, this too, this too, this too. This too is you, this too is you. Even this particular guest, this is you. Just love it, embrace it. Notice that you're already embracing it as what you are. You are, because it's already here, it's showing up.
Yeah. It all happens now, but it seems to go through this vehicle of time. And eventually it's held and embraced. And then there's a huge relief, because it is seen as what it always was. It was just seen as this perfect, amazing aspect of the divine that had been pushed away and had been turned into this kind of monster that wasn't really ever a monster. A fabricated monster out of it in this now moment. And it's looked at and it's revealed for what it is. And it's allowed fully. It's not resisted anymore in any sense, on any level, any perspective. And it feels like that is what we're doing in some ways. We're just integrating these things come around and around and around. And until we take a proper look at them, they just keep coming around, and we can push them away. They might get worse, and eventually they will just come up and be like monsters. They just wants to be embraced, wants to be a hug, wants to be seen for what they truly are, which is synonymous with experience, which is synonymous with God, which is synonymous with now, which is synonymous with the divine. Give it whichever name sparks that intense love and that intense acceptance of the amazingness of what this is right now. These things that really causes so much pain were always the divine, were always absolutely perfect in nature, and we just, in our ignorance, just pushed them away and just told them that they can't be here. So this a slightly different angle at looking at it from do nothing, let it release, but it's actually the same thing ultimately, because the letting it release in the Dzogchen sense is actually a full integration of that feeling, and then it does what it naturally does, which is release into what it is.
Yeah. There is no real resistance, because nothing is ever pushed out, nothing is ever refused the right to be here. This timeless now opens the door to every manifestation of itself. There are these thoughts that say, but it shouldn't be here, I don't like it, this isn't allowed, or this, I should fight it, and all these thoughts, and yet it's here. It seems very paradoxical to thought, but it has permission. It's been admitted into this moment. So, like, it's arrived and it's here, and then there are these artificial no's saying, no, no, it shouldn't be here. It doesn't mean that you should try and stop thinking, because that's another artificial no. It's another refusal, or fake refusal, a pseudo resistance. So what persists is not here to be resisted and can't be resisted. What persists is asking you to recognize it for what it is. It also doesn't mean that you have to try and say yes. It doesn't mean you have to try and manufacture an artificial yes, because that artificial yes is actually a different version of the no. Life is already saying yes, and you are life. So only notice that what is persisting in experience is not being resisted by life, the life that you are.
Yeah. The mind is an expert level film narrator. And so it's so good at narrating, you forget about what is actually going on in the film. You forget about the energetic, amazing richness of the film itself, and you go straight to the narration and think that's the thing. It's what the narrator is saying, and you forget that the narrator is just making up a story. But the feelings are always fresh. All there is this energy arising in the moment that you doesn't have any explanation with it. It doesn't come with a little title or little piece of text that says this is blah blah blah. It's actually just the energy. And even further, the narrator is just energy. All energetic occurrence of experience, of consciousness, of reality.
The stories the mind tells are so compelling. They seem so real. They seem to point to something true. Yet they never are. They are only, at best, guesses. They're just guesses. They're just suggestions. You can see thoughts as suggestions. You don't have to follow them. You don't have to invest your focus, your energy in them. They're just suggestions. Take them, leave them. There is this ever-fresh expression of life energy, and these expressions never arise with a description. They just don't. So if you can see the obvious indefinability of these ever-fresh expressions, then that does so much of the work, so-called work. You realise, of course, none of these expressions are what the mind can say they are. They never can be the concepts. Concepts are just that, just conceptual. Everything is indefinable. The recognition of the indefinability of the nature of existence can bring about such a release, relief, relaxation. It's only noticing what already is the case, what already is the nature of this, the indefinability, the malleability of this unmanifest life that you are, showing yourself as this and this and this and this and this, all of it, this one seamless totality. You can't argue with reality, basically. You can't argue with yourself. You can try, and the trying to do so is the pain, is the suffering. The argument with reality creates the perception of duality. Saying this artificial no denies the fundamental yes, the oneness of all, the inclusion of all as well, not the denial of expression, but the inclusion of expression. That is the fundamental yes that actually accommodates the artificial no as well. Weirdly.
It does, and it all starts to sound paradoxical. It's like the no is included in the yes. How is that even a thing? Like, you try and imagine that with your mind as to what is this space that encompasses no and yes, and that's not quite it either. You've got this image in your head of how that would work. The funny thing is, firstly, reality, it doesn't need to explain that to itself because it encompasses everything automatically and naturally because it is itself. Because we are reality, whatever we believe in becomes a kind of reality. Reality lends itself to all of its beliefs because there's only the potency of reality, and it saturates all of experience, including the beliefs, because it's so unconditional. So you zoom in and go, I believe I can resist this moment. And it would seem seem like a truth, but it never is. It's never true. And we've never left ourselves as reality, yet here we are, the ocean, knowing the ocean in the drop realizing the ocean in itself is the magic going on here. It's not just some pointless accident. You don't dissolve into the ocean as this kind of what people might have as an idea of an absolute, like just nothingness, white light. Dare I say, you get to have your cake and eat it too.
Yeah, nothing has to change. Nisargadatta in I Am That said, identity is not lost, only its limitations are lost. It is transfigured and becomes the real self, the Sadguru, the eternal friend and guide. You are actually qualityless because you can't describe what you are. Reality is way beyond any story the mind can tell, so you are indefinable. Yet there is that no-thingness expressing itself as thingness, expressing itself as the sense of self. What is that sense of a separate self, the ego? What is it? It is a bunch of distortions of more fundamental qualities. Those distortions, take the distortion of insecurity. I'm the one who is insecure. I experience insecurity, and that's part of who I am. It defines my life and my search, my seeking. That insecurity actually points to a fundamental truth of safety, an unconditional safety, which is just built into your true nature. And then it gets distorted. Recognizing that, oh, I'm not the one who is insecure, then that belief naturally dissolving, that brings into experience the quality of unconditional safety. And you recognize that that is a quality of your deeper nature. That's just one example. So the ego is just a bunch of distortions of these truer qualities. So when that expansion, that decontraction happens from dissonance to resonance, the patterns that make up the sense of me either relax, transmute, like alchemizing base metal into gold, insecurity into safety, or they may dissolve altogether. Either way, there's no longer this narrowness, this contracted, distorted, dissonant self. Here's another quote by Nisargadatta. Suffering warns us that the structure of memories and habits, which we call the person, is threatened by loss or change. Suffering is due entirely to clinging or resisting. It is a sign of our unwillingness to move on, to flow with life. A saintly life is free from suffering. The essence of saintliness is total acceptance of the present moment, harmony with things as they happen. A saint does not want things to be different from what they are. He knows that, considering all factors, they are unavoidable. He is friendly with the inevitable and therefore does not suffer. Pain, he may know, but it does not shatter him. If he can, he does the needful to restore the lost balance, or he lets things take their course.